the first thing I should say, anyone should say about the Gallerist is just how gorgeous it looks. The production quality is amazing, and I want to show it to you, but I can't. It's too heavy. Elaine, can you look? If you just lift it like this way, right?
I need to bend from my knee.
No, but then you turn and then pivot. Just put your hands in here. Put your hands in here.
Crush my fingers.
Put your hands in here. Look, lift.
All right, I'm done.
Well, now that the box is on the table, I can show you just how heavy this game is. Wait, didn't I just show you that? No, that's not what I mean. What I mean is this game isn't just heavy in terms of box size, it's also heavy in terms of its contents and components, and it's just gorgeous. It is just gorgeous. And one of the most impressive things about the Gallerist is just how well the box insert is made. See, everything fits and everything slots perfectly. And even if we tilted the box upside down, everything is exactly where it should be. When you open this up, you understand that they haven't actually been smuggling a baby elephant in this box, but this is why this box is so heavy. Everything is chunky. The first player token is chunky. The paintings are chunky. The tickets that you get are chunky. The money is chunky. And there's wooden easels, and even the cards themselves, which, I mean, they're just regular cards. They feel like cardboard. It feels like someone actually took another game and glued it to the bottom of every bit of the Gallerist and then just cut it to make it the size that it is. And from what I understand, Vito Lacerda had a vision for this game. He wanted it to be this overproduced. He wanted it to look so spiffy, and he did it. He definitely did it.
And it's not just the bits and pieces, the cardboard and the wood and everything that make this board game heavy. It's the gameplay itself. When Efka told me it was an economic simulation game about buying and selling art, I thought, economic simulation? Championship manager? Oh, this is going to be awful. Boy, was I wrong. When we started looking at the rules and how to play it, it looked so heavy. I thought I was going to get sucked into this whirlpool of it. But then we started playing the game and I thought, oh no, this is pretty intuitive and simple. There's only 4 places you can go on the board. And then we started playing more and I thought, actually, this is getting more complicated because there's 2 different spaces. For each space you can go on the board, and for each action you do, there's like a million steps to do it, and it makes it so much more interesting.
A million different steps. How in the world is that interesting? Well, it really surprisingly is. And I think it works so well because, well, let's take my favorite action, which is discovering a new artist, where you take this slightly homogeneous looking tile and flip it over and make it slightly less homogeneous because you have this Facebook type person on it, but then you get to mark his initial fame, and that's pretty cool because, you know, he's completely unknown, no one knows about it, but you're the person that came in and made that artist available to the world. You put them on the pedestal and you put the work on the pedestal, and doing all these little extra steps like taking their signature token, which means they owe you a commission for discovering them, and putting them on your own player board feels really, really nice. It makes you feel involved in the game and like you're actually participating in this buying and selling art game. Like Elaine mentioned, there's 4 different locations in the game, but there's a plethora of different things you can do. You can buy art, you can discover artists, you can promote them, you can hire assistants, you can sell it, and you can bid on works of international renown, and all that is really rather exciting. But unlike other worker placement games, you don't just move your pawn somewhere and that is it. See, you can move your pawn even if someone is on that space already, and you can kick them out. And just like in a real gallery, whenever you move anyway, you can poop one of your assistants behind you. And it works equally the same whether you kick out the actual pawn or the assistant pawn. Whoever gets kicked out gets a kicked out action, and that is an extra action you can do effectively. You can do something very simple like spending some tickets to move visitors into your gallery, or you can actually do a proper action by sacrificing some of your personal influence and then doing the location action that location would do. And this creates a really interesting to and fro of whether I'm going to go and do the thing that I actually want to do and give my opponent an extra action that they will then have to decide whether they're going to want to pay for it or not. Or do I just go somewhere where there's no risk of getting anyone any extra value?
Explaining how the Gallerist works can be a little bit tricky, but hopefully it won't take as long for you to understand as it did for some people. In the Gallerist, every action that you do comes with little bonuses, and these will help you decide and determine what your strategy is going to be and what actions you want to take. Now, every art gallery needs visitors. It's no good them sitting in the park. They need to be in the gallery. That's where they're going to help you. But the only way to get them in there is to spend tickets. And the only tickets that you can spend to get them in there have to be the right colour. Now, the reason you need your visitors in the gallery is because they will help you achieve those bonuses that I mentioned just now. Like, they will help you gain more money or more influence, and also they will help you increase the fame of your artist. Keaton or Chaplin, VHS or Betamax, sauerkraut or unicorns? These are the questions that have plagued mankind for many, many hundreds of years, and the Gallerist is no different. See, I have this tile that will let me get extra points for the amount of pink meeples that I have in my gallery at the end of the game, and I have 0 pink meeples at the moment, so I really, really want them. But I also have this art dealer card that will let me get an extra $10 if I buy and sell 2 statues at the end of the game. So my dilemma is, do I go for the photograph, which will let me put the extra pink meeple into the plaza, and with my executive action then I can move it into my gallery to get me those points? Or do I go for the statue that gives me a bit of a useless brown meeple into the plaza at the moment, but will let me get towards my art dealer action? Photograph or statue? Photograph or statue? Photograph or statue?
Give me that. Look, Elaine is obviously wrong. It is all about the sculpture. Now, I understand what she's trying to get at. Sometimes you just want a menagerie of colour in your personal plaza because it looks like Neapolitan ice cream. But let's not get greedy here. And let's just start with the chocolate. We'll get the rest later. In this example where you want pink meeples in your plaza at the end of the game, we can get them at the end of the game. What Elaine has failed to mention is that another player has a signature token from the sculpture artist, but hasn't bought a painting yet, which means that their painting is cheap whilst they're still only just been discovered. Now, we want to get in there and buy one of their paintings cheap as well. That means that 2 gallerists are equally invested in one artist. They're both going to promote him. They're both going to go out of their way to make the value of their paintings higher. And that's what the game is all about. Selling high and buying low. And you know what? In this game, there are no victory points. It's just money, 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 money.
Now you know and I know that it's obviously Efka that's wrong, because these pink tickets, although it looks like there's a massive amount of them at the beginning of the game, they will dwindle really, really, really quickly. And by the end of the game, you'll be going, oh my God, how do I get my pink meeples?
No, you don't understand. It's your right. It's clearly this one. Because
it's clearly the photo.
I mean, we don't need her. You'll still play the Gallerist with me.
But I need the pink meeples. Like, well, I don't know what he was thinking. Like, he was getting absolutely crazy.
What you do about, like, your hair? Do you wax it, or? I mean, because I'm asking, because you never know.
What is he talking about? I don't know. What is life? What is going on? I don't know. I need to get.
Did I ever tell you have a very charming smile? It's quite lustrous.
Like I was trying to say, managing visitors to your gallery is really important, otherwise endgame will creep up on you. There are certain conditions that you have to meet to trigger endgame, like using all the meeples from the bag, using all the visitors, that will trigger endgame. And also, if 2 of your artists become as famous as they'll ever be, that will trigger endgame too. And of course, using all the tickets. If you fulfill 2 of these things, it will trigger the end of the game. So when you use the bonuses, they are really important in the game as well, because the more meeples you have of a certain colour, the better the bonuses will be. For example, the more VIP white meeples you have in the gallery when you're trying to promote an artist, the more famous, the more promotion you'll be able to do for them. So that's really, really great. So you have to really keep an eye on the meeples that you have in there and get them at the right time. Otherwise you'll end up getting towards the end of the game thinking, oh God, I really need this ticket, or I really need this meeple. But you know what? They'll all be gone.
Now, the Gallerist is a Vital Lacerda game, so no one ever said this is going to be a simple game. It is a heavy Euro, true and true. But remember when we said that the actions are quite involved and there's a lot of steps? I think that's one of the things that makes you feel like it's a very complicated game. When the Gallerist was announced, Vital said that it's about 20% lighter than Kanban, which was his previous heavy Euro. And when I first played the Gallerist, I thought to myself, yeah, that's just no, no, it's just as heavy as Kanban. But actually, now that once that I've played the Gallerist a couple of times, 2, 3, I kinda learned those actions by rote. And now the game is brilliantly elegant. It soars like an eagle. The veil has been completely parted. And I finally see the Gallerist for what it is. It is an elegant, streamlined simulation where you constantly feel like you're never quite boxed out of what you're doing. Yes, the game is about buying and selling art, but it's hard to eyeball how much value the other players' assets quite have. So you always feel like you're in the game. You always feel like whatever you decided to do, whether sculptures or photos or traditional art or whatever it is your strategy is, you've always got one foot in this game, and you are not just an art dealer competing with other art dealers. You are an art dealer in the art dealer industry, working side by side with others. And let the best man or woman win.
You remember how we said about kicked out actions and how they're really cool because you get to do something else. It's still your turn. They are if you're the one taking the kicked out action, but they can also be a little bit confusing because when we played a game together, I gave my opponent a kicked out action, and by moving down in influence, he did a location action, so he kind of had another whole action. And then I was like, oh, it's my turn again now because you've done your thing. And he was like, no, it's still my turn because I haven't even had my turn yet. And now imagine that in a 4-player game. It's supposed to kind of go clockwise, you know, like regular game turn order. But if you give the person opposite you a kicked out action, then they get their turn. And then when is your turn again? Is it my turn next? Is it my turn ever? When is it?
Previously, I mentioned Kanban, and it is designed by the same designer. Now, it is slightly unfair to compare the Gallerist to Kanban, but it does illustrate a very fine point about one of the problems with the Gallerist that I have. Now, Kanban came out just a year before the Gallerist, and one thing they do share in common is that they're both worker placement games where you only have one worker and can put them in only a couple of locations, but those locations do different things and you can choose what you want to do. Now, I think that works better in Kanban, and the reason for that is because not all actions in the Gallerist are equally exciting. Like I said before, one of the most exciting things you can do in the Gallerist is go to this specific place, which either lets you discover a new artist or buy a painting. And the reason for that, I think, is that A, they're just a little bit more involved, a little bit more happens, but also they have this wonderfully tactile feeling of when you discover a new artist, you get this signature token and you could put it on your player board, and that feels really, really nice. It does give you that sense of like you've just actually discovered a new artist. And it's the same with buying a painting. You get to take a piece of art, and these are great because they have been submitted by actual up-and-coming artists to be put into the game. So you have this sense of, I'm actually buying this painting and I'm going to try not to just make money out of it, but to promote this artist and make him more famous. But the problem is that the other actions feel less exciting. Yes, there's some fun in promoting an artist, but hiring assistants, getting contract cards, which lets you then sell the paintings, and sending your assistants to the international market feels mundane. Not in a bad way. There's still a lot of decision making within the game, but from a thematic perspective, they don't hold a candle to that specific action space. And that's just not true about Kanban. You see, in Kanban, everything you do feels interconnected, and there is this great level of intermeshing elements, interlocking elements that kind of conjoin together in this one massive grand piece of strategy. That's not to say that Gallerist is a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It is actually fantastic. And if you are a person who hasn't played heavy games before, heavy Euro games, and you've heard about this new up-and-coming guy, Vital Lacerda, you've heard about how amazing he is with game design, and you want to try these games, I say, do start with the Gallerist, because whilst it isn't quite as deep as this game, I think what is true about it is that it takes a really, really interesting concept and puts an incredible design on it. And it makes you feel like you're part of it and involved in it. And there's a heavy, heavy amount of crunch to this game. In the end, the thing that is so charming about the Gallerist is that it doesn't quite feel like any other game out there. And I think that's, once again, because you don't play for victory points, you play for money. Money is the important thing. You'll get money for selling paintings, and you have to spend money for buying paintings. And that feels more like you're making an investment, you know, because large part of the game, it's definitely not everything, but a large part of the game is buying and selling paintings. And there's also other ways to get money as well. So every action, you're very carefully calculating how much is it going to cost to just not get money, because at the end, again, it is just like victory points, but it feels totally different. It doesn't feel like other Euros. And that's what's going to get me to come back and play the Gallerist.
Now, we know we didn't mention everything about this game, but that's because there is so much to this game. We didn't even mention the international art track, and we didn't mention how to get tickets. But that's because if we did, then you would be here till the middle of next year listening to us waffle on about it. But if you do want to watch a really good rules video of how to play it, watch Gaming Rules with Paul Grogan.
And this game is meat
and potatoes.
You will find so much insight, and I think that's one of the selling points. If you like heavy Euros and you like heavy strategies, I think you will definitely enjoy this game. If you like Vital Lacerda's game, you might like Kanban a little bit more, but I think there's definitely enough in here to get you excited, because the game, for us at least, has an incredible amount of replayability. We found that it plays out differently because you get different bonuses, or when you discover artists, or you get different meeples and different paintings when they come down, and you get different contract cards. Contract cards have bonuses and different scoring objectives, different curator cards. Every time you play, it feels like you have to restart this strategy that you thought you figured out all over again. And with 2 players, it feels great. It feels fresh, it feels fast-paced, and it's over before you know it. And most importantly, it got me excited about a subject that I thought was incredibly dull as listening to Sister Wendy.
I noticed something I hadn't seen at first. There's no narrative to this picture. It's not a breakfast. What are the lemons doing? There's no shellfish, there's no pancakes. Even if they're going to squeeze it into the water or the wine, 3 lemons is a lot. And there's olives at the back.
Yeah, not like that at all.